Agenda item 1.01. I'm sorry, 1.02, the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, item number 1.03, approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Chairman votes aye. Motion passes. Item 1.04, recognition of top ranking graduates of the class of 2025 from Elko County School District High Schools. Mr. Anderson?
It's me. All right. So, much like we love to acknowledge the state sports champions and spelling bee winners and other types of victors across our district, we were, I was just chatting with Lynn about 4 years ago. We were, it was suggested we maybe acknowledge all these #1 graduates at all of our high schools at our board meeting. And so we're happy to be doing that again this year. And so we're going to acknowledge those kids. We have 7 high schools across our district, and it will not shock you that while we have some of them here, some of those kids are off doing other crazy stuff too. We have someone who's at HOSA Nationals. We have 2 other kids who are in Washington, D.C. for extra things that they do as part of being awesome. So anyway, we're still gonna acknowledge all those kids. We have some of them here and some of them not. So we'll see who we can get here today. So first, sorry, I've got like people chatting to me about where some of these people are right now. So the first one we'll talk about is, well, I guess since he's in the room, we'll have Mr. Truman Kington. Hello, stand up, Truman. That's Truman, everybody. Truman is from Wells High School, and Truman is, he's a funny guy. I like Truman a lot. I was his principal for a couple of years, and he always made me laugh, and he still does, just standing there with just the way he is. He's so great. He's a great kid to be around. I don't have individual things to say about all the kids, but I know Truman. But Truman, you get to come up here and shake everyone's hand. You start on that end over there with Miss Susan Neal. So congratulations.
Truman, we got this for you too.
Oh yes, certificate also. All right, and then in the room is, I'm not sure, is there someone else? Is Addison Schenken here anywhere? That's you, Addison? Okay, sorry. I've not met Addison before. I've seen Addison before. Well, I guess I shook your hand at graduation last week, so technically we've met. But Addison, come on forward. Addison is the #1 ranked graduate at Spring Creek High School, so congratulations, Addison.
Yeah, congratulations. There you go.
All right, and then we had one more that was supposed to be in the room, but they're part of why I was scatterbrained. They were texting me as I was talking that person's running late, so we might let you exercise your ability to interrupt the meeting somewhere else to acknowledge that student when they get here. So we'll wait for that person to come, and then we also had a couple that so some of these folks who are out and about elsewhere in the country who we gave Zoom links to join us on the screen, but Charles has let me know that they're not on right now. So I'm going to just acknowledge the rest of the names of the kids. And if someone pops in on Zoom and Charles lets me know, or when someone rolls in the building, we'll stop everything we're doing because they deserve to be recognized, don't they, Lynn? They sure do. All right. So I will say their names though. And those students are from Carlin High School, Landon Maffo. From Elko High School, Adriana Amaya. And Adriana was one that was definitively not going to make it tonight, so I don't anticipate her. From Jackpot High School, Samantha Lampo. And I don't think Samantha was going to be able to join at all either. From Owyhee High School, Noah Johnson. I think he's the one that's on his way right now. And then the last one would be from West Wendover High School, and that young lady's name is Karina Kleinschmidt. So those are our 7 students. Congratulations, way to excel. And, you know, I just thinking about Truman again, I've run into Truman at FBLA competitions. I've seen Truman play in sports. Like, these kids are just, they excel at a lot of things. They're very involved. They contribute to their school community, and it's pretty great that they do that, and we appreciate you and how you uplift your student body and your school community. So thank you. And then let's have one more round of applause for all 7 of those folks.
Mr. Anderson, can I interrupt?
Okay.
Mr. Chair? So I do know Addie, so I'm gonna say a few words about Addie, because not only is she a fantastic student, a great athlete, she has got some huge goals. And I think it would be really fun, since we just have 2 here, if they would be willing to come to the mic and just share their future plans with us. Would you guys be willing?
I think that would be awesome.
All right, all right, and since Truman went first, that gives Addie another second to prepare. But if you guys are willing, we'd love to hear, because I know, like I say, I know Addie's got some really huge plans, and I think it would be great to hear some of those plans. I know our Elko County, graduates go on to do amazing things, and I think that should definitely be recognized. So Truman, if you're willing, would you come up and share? And then Addie, would you come up afterward? You can bring Reese with you if you want. She can be your sidekick.
All right, I'm gonna take a gap year this year to join the National Guard. And that's gonna help me pay for college at the University of Nevada, Reno, where I plan on studying kinesiology. And then maybe moving into the field of sports psychology with later education.
I plan on going to BYU Provo, and then, well, for now, my major is molecular biology and physiology to hopefully become a pediatric oncologist. But, yeah.
Before we continue, go Cougs. Absolutely, go Cougs. And you can't say anything because
Cougs,
that's a
yeah.
#1 student right there.
It is. Congratulations. That's all the students. Thank you very much. And thank you, Mr. Anderson. Unless there's anything else from the board, we'll move on to item number 1.05, recognition of the 2025 Elko County School District Teacher of the Year and STEM Teachers of the Year.
Awesome. I'll keep going then. So we've got 2 of them. As I kind of teased these a few weeks ago, about a month ago, we have, so this is our 2nd year in a row of having an Elko County School District Teacher of the Year, and then the Nevada Gold Mines generously supports and sponsors 2 STEM Teachers of the Year. And so 2 of those 3 teachers are able to be here with us tonight. The 3rd one's going to come next week. So first up, we'll have Miss Hunsaker. Come on, stand up right up there. We made Truman and Addie do it, so you get to do it too. So this is fun again for me because when I was a brand new principal, she taught me how to be a principal basically and helped me with some of the things I needed to learn how to do because she'd been doing them at Wells for a long time. So Miss Amy Hunsaker is the junior and senior high social studies teacher, as well as she teaches the leadership class and does student council. And I'm gonna read some of the stuff that was written about her for her nomination. So Amy Hunsaker, affectionately known as Miss H at our school, is an incredible teacher who goes far beyond what is expected of her. She plays a key role in shaping our class schedule, is on the school safety committee, and fosters a sense of community and kindness among students through her leadership class. She also coordinates school fundraisers. She offers support and guidance to staff and administration on various school matters. She's dedicated to student well-being, acts almost like a school mom, and is always willing to listen to anyone in need. She promotes wellness through thoughtful gestures and encourages school spirit through leadership activities. She captures memories by taking photos at sports events and assemblies, developing them at her own expense, and giving them to students so they have tangible keepsakes. And before I continue, as I was reading this, I realized that, like, from where I was reading, I looked up to my right, and on my little bulletin board, I've got some pictures from my time as an educator. And as soon as I read that, I was like, wait a minute, I think I have some of those. And I looked up on the wall, and there were 7 different pictures that Miss H had taken at one point or another. And she would just kind of quietly put it on my desk when I wasn't there. And I don't think I even knew where they came from at the time. I eventually figured out that it was her. But, and then I was mentioning that to Mr. Krenka, and he walked through there and he goes, oh yeah, I've got scrapbooks from when I was a track coach, and she would take pictures not only of her own track kids, but other schools' track events. And she'd send those things to other coaches from other schools in ECSD as well. So that was 2 for 2 in the room that Miss H had given pictures to, and that was the adults, and we know she does them for the kids too. So moving on, she runs initiatives like canned food drives, holiday giving programs, and campaigns promoting kindness, all of which teach students to be selfless, instilling important values outside the classroom. In her teaching, she embraces creativity rather than relying on fancy gadgets and programs. She often shares her personal experiences and photos from her travels to historic sites to bring history to life for her students. She helps the students connect emotionally with what they are learning by sharing stories from her adventures. Every summer, she explores historical locations and then brings that firsthand knowledge back to the classroom. She also organizes field trips to significant places for the students, such as the World War II German concentration camp in Idaho or Promontory Point, where students can see and feel history up close. She has a nurturing, positive, and inclusive environment, and she infuses these values into the entire school community. Her leadership class adorns the campus with posters bearing words of wisdom and kindness, decorates student lockers with uplifting messages, and acknowledges the hard work of teachers and staff with treats and thank yous. And I've seen them do the same things for visiting teams too. For kids from other schools, they do visiting happy thoughts for probably most of the teams. Most of them. There's a couple that we don't need to go there. And all those things contribute to the culture of the campus. And then just as one more thought, many former students return to visit her after graduation, demonstrating the significant and lasting impact she has had on their lives. And within her classroom, she has a collection of pennants and keepsakes from colleges that her students attend, proudly displaying them in her classroom. And this is a testament to her commitment to their futures and encourages ongoing connections with her kids. So that's, I mean, there's probably other stuff that we didn't get to talk about there, but Amy is truly fantastic. And I was a little bummed back during COVID. There was an award for the state that they were looking for people to, you didn't know I did this, but I'm telling you now. They were looking for people in school districts to nominate people who'd really stepped it up for their community during COVID and did things to help out and keep the wheels running. And she and her sister, who's sitting back there as well, hello, Erin, the 2 of them like handmade masks for everyone with like mine were Yankees masks, and like, so personalized masks. Whether you like masks or not is not really the point. They knew we had to have them, and they made personalized masks for everybody. And I tried my hardest to get you a big state award, Amy. I was unsuccessful, but ever since then, it was evident that you are just everything for that community. And so I'm really glad that they were able to nominate you, and we were able to give you this award of Elko County School District Teacher of the Year. So thank you. Thank you again. All righty. And our other friend who's here with us tonight is Miss Katie Hammer. So why don't you come on up? Hello, Katie. Katie's pretty great too. I haven't known Katie as long as I've known Amy, but Katie's pretty awesome. Katie is she teaches at Sage Elementary. And so currently you're the media specialist, right? But prior to that, Katie was a special education teacher. Katie was a 2nd grade teacher. And then Katie also serves with me as a board member for the Northeastern Nevada Regional Professional Development Program. So she serves in all of those capacities and then some, and I'm going to read about that. So the nominator for Mrs. Hammer said that she is the steel that binds the train together and many times she's the conductor driving the train as well. She finds new and exciting strategies to bring up engagement and then still a love for learning in both students and staff. She always has a smile on her face, as you saw when she walked up, and a welcoming attitude for students no matter when they pop in to see her. She gives her own time on many occasions for the betterment of the students at Sage Elementary. She has created slots in her already busy schedule to administer Tier 2 instruction to students before the student intervention team recommends students for special education testing. There's some education jargon in there, but that means before, what that means translates to is before kids kind of are sent to be tested for more significant interventions, she takes time to work on kind of maybe something in the gap between the regular instruction and what an IEP might provide. And so she tries different things with them to see if maybe we can catch them with just different strategies and keep them in the least restrictive environment. So anyway, ad-libbing countless hours during the week that she gives to the robotics team. She was one of the leaders in establishing the team and keeps it going and lays tape on the floor to create the course and do everything to keep that robotics team going. She can transform the tranquility of the library into a cafe, into a Western-themed environment, or anywhere else that your imagination can take you. She has taken room transformations to another level and is a leader at Sage and uses those to increase student engagement. And I've been in other classrooms where they also do the classroom transformations, and they learned it from you, and it's pretty awesome. Mrs. Hammer helped create a science of reading curriculum for the Department of Ed, and she has been a driving force of implementing that curriculum at Sage Elementary. She's been giving the other staff there information and skills based on the science of reading to increase instruction and student success. As she will tell you, the science of reading, if used correctly, will increase student success, and she wants everyone to implement it correctly so that all students can be successful. As far as creating a positive and inclusive classroom environment, her room is calm and inviting. She has a tranquil fish tank that kids find calming and relaxing, and you know, they can just stare off at the fish and chill out for a little bit. She has flexible and choice seating to help students feel welcome and to help kind of mitigate certain behaviors that can occur when people are a little squirrely and squirmy. She has special LED lighting to make the room more relaxing. Her small little classroom works as a library for the whole school, works as a media lab for their instruction, and she uses it for intervention. And there are times when they even have all staff development happen in her calm, cozy library/classroom. She writes grants for the school. She's on the school improvement team and numerous other committees, and she's also helping set the standards for the media classes across the whole district. She's responsible for all students learning kindergarten through 5th, and also she's a teacher that supports teachers. And the very end of this is about 4 or 5 quotes from from fellow colleagues at her school that just couldn't stop saying nice things about her. And she was an easy, as we read through these things, it was like, all right, well, this one's an obvious yes. Like, and not just from what we read, but from the people in the group that were choosing those. Everyone knows Katie and how great she is, and so she was an easy yes, and we're really glad that we were able to recognize you for all the things. And these are just the things we know about, and we just like our students who are #1 students and do countless things, and we can't even know it all. The same with you and with Amy and all the great teachers who do so much more than we'll ever really know. So thank you so much, Katie. Congratulations.
All right, moving on to item 1.06, it's input from the public. This is a period devoted to comments by the general public, if any. In the interest of privacy and due process, the public is requested not to raise personnel issues except in a legally noticed closed personnel section of the board. Comments are limited to 3 consecutive minutes. The speaker's time may not be reserved, divided, apportioned, or deferred. No action may be taken upon a matter raised under this item of the agenda until the matter itself has been included specifically on an agenda as an item upon which action will be taken. And also as a reminder, if you have comments on an item that are on the agenda, please save those for that time period and we'll hear those during that agenda item. Is there any, and I do have one on the cell phones here, Mr. Featherstone. So if you could hold that for that agenda item, but is there any public comment? All right, hearing none, we will move forward to item 2.01.
Hey, Jeff.
Yes.
Can probably let our, unless you want to stay, but the folks who came for awards, you're welcome to head out if you need to, or you may stay. So.
Board meetings are fun.
Thank you.
Wait a moment here till we get Mr. Anderson back. All right, moving on here. Item 2.01, receipt, review, and possible acceptance of renewal proposal from Nevada Public Agency Insurance Pool and approval for payment from fiscal year 2025 to 2026 funds for possible action.
Great. Well, we got some visitors for us today. This is again, this is an annual item we do for our insurance renewal with Pool. So we have Dane Uriarty, who's kind of our local guy who works with us on all that. So we're going to let him take it away. And
Welcome, Dane.
thanks for being here,
Very
Dane.
good. Thanks for having me. I'm Dane Uriarty with LP Insurance, and I also have Stephen Romero with Pool Pact here with me tonight. So your renewal itself with the expiring deductible saw a 0.55% decrease versus last year. And I'm not sure if you guys have looked through your board packet, but I've been talking with district staff, and my recommendation would be to increase the deductible to 50,000. And I ran an analysis of a total claims cost. So where you take the premium savings factored with the higher deductible, and based on the past 5 years, that looks to be the sweet spot deductible wise. So if it was me, I would recommend that. And then it sounds like a risk mitigation fund has also been set up. So this isn't a seat of the pants thing. It's well thought out and funded, and probably the hot ticket. So I'm going to let Stephen come up and talk to you guys a little bit more about the pool and what they offer. And if you have any questions for me, please let me know.
Thank you. Steve Romero with Pool Pact. Really, I just want to give shout outs because you have done a fantastic job as being a member of the pool and getting involved in the trainings, getting involved in the other benefits of the pool. And part of those benefits include, you know, I know you just had the vulnerability study that was done for Elko schools, which is through Jeff Kay, comes out and does the assessments for you. Also, you just completed the ERMAP program. And then we also had, in addition, what else was on the list that I saw that I was pretty excited about for you? You had the ERMAP, the vulnerability assessment, and then just several of the grants that were provided to with regards to the grant process that we have at the pool for all of our members. You are one member of 143 members currently. And, you know, we continue to grow that. Right now we have 5 prospects that are looking at coming into the pool as well. And hopefully we end up with those extra prospects that come into the pool. Other than that, I'm going to just leave it open for questions.
Board members? I've got one for you.
Okay.
Just regarding what he had just mentioned in the recommendation to increase the deductible to 50,000. The quotation I see here in my packet is a price, which, and I'm seeing a savings there of approximately $9,000, just under nine, which is great. What would those numbers be if we were to go to a $50,000 deductible?
I think in that packet, it actually
Did I miss it?
It was almost 150,000
$158,039.
was what the savings were to go to from a 25 to a 50.
So the increase, so we'd be looking at 6 claims to break even. And what is an average per year in claims off the,
It's kind of all over the
of that
place.
size? So it's a,
Of that size, it's the smart move. There might be smaller claims, but of the over 25s even, I'd say probably 3 to 5.
right, okay.
And I think with the help of the pool, you had set up a couple years ago, I think it was a couple years ago, you set up the risk management fund, or was it last year that you processed that?
Sorry, I included a letter in there about the risk mitigation fund. I'll be coming in July. So we initially had our Nevada State Bank account and a sweep account, which we've been earning interest, and that's been going in buildings and sites. Last month, I set up the general fund. So anything over $3 million every night, it goes into the sweep account and we'll earn interest. We only have interest for about 1 month. So depending on the balance this month or last month, we received $30,000. So it could range probably to $15,000 to $40,000, I would say, but just a couple months would easily pay one deductible. So, but I'll be coming back in July. The reason why I don't have it now is because it would interfere with the finalized budget that we've already submitted taxation.
Gotcha. So that's why we're looking at the $25,000 figure. Okay. How would the board like to proceed?
Do we need to change the proposal then to the 50,000? That's what I was mulling over in my head.
Right.
That need to be in the,
Speaking in general on the recommendation and just the math, quick math in my head, it seems like a great way to try and save some money. What are we looking at doing here if we need to make a motion?
So in this proposal, there is both deductible options are included in there. The quotation is just a kind of year over year comparison of how it looks with the 25,000.
Thank you.
So are you just wondering like what motion to make then, or yeah?
yeah,
I
so
think
then
that's the
can I
question.
make a motion to approve the proposal with a $50,000 deductible for 25, 26?
We have a motion? And a second? Any further discussion?
Do we also need to move to approve payment from fiscal year 2025,
Let's see.
2026 funds?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
so-
believe that needs to be included in your motion.
Would you like to amend your motion?
Yes, I move to accept the renewal proposal and approval for payment from fiscal year 25, 26 with a $50,000 deductible.
Second.
Okay.
Thanks, Brooke.
Anything further? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes.
Fantastic. Hey, thank you very much for being
Thank you.
a strong member of the pool. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. We're at item 2.02, receipt, review, and possible acceptance of recommendation from the superintendent to accept the request for proposal from Chartwells to outsource the school food service program for possible action. Mr. Anderson?
Thanks. Sure, there we go. Thank you. So attached to the agenda, we do have the contract as well as a letter from the Nevada Department of Agriculture that affirms that, this is all good. I can't remember how long ago it was, but you guys approved for us to go out to RFP to accept proposals, and we went through that whole process and have, it's my recommendation that we join back up with Chartwells, and we do have some visitors here from Chartwells with us today. And I suppose if you desperately had some questions for them, they'd be happy to talk to you. But yeah, we were happy and excited about their proposal. And so, yeah, I got nothing else to say unless you have questions about it.
Board?
I was gonna say, I know, I have 4 boys that eat a lot of food and they were always happy with Chartwell's food when we worked with them, so, I move to, approve the proposal from Chartwells to outsource the school food service program.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. All right, moving on to 2.03. Receipt, review, and possible approval of a bus surplus sale for possible action.
I'll just go ahead and make a motion to approve a bus surplus sale.
Second.
If, before we move forward, just to make sure we're doing this right, this is probably my fault, but it's actually a vehicle surplus sale, and I did not change the word bus to vehicle when I made the agenda item.
There's both on there.
But yeah, so the auction list says it, but I'm saying the
Vehicle
item,
auction list, yeah.
the actual item doesn't say it. So I don't know if that's something we can even, I don't know if we can approve the other vehicles or if we just have to do I think we can just do the buses because it only says bus. That's probably my fault. Do you want to just cancel the whole item, Seth, and then do all of it next week, or do you want to do the buses now and the other vehicles next week? Okay, so your
All right.
motion is fine because you did say of a bus surplus sale and the attachment does have the buses on there. So I will make sure
We'll get the rest of the vehicles in next.
we'll bring back the rest of the fleet next week. So my apologies, but I'm glad I thought of it just now.
Okay, so we do have a motion and a second to sell some buses. Any further discussion?
I was just gonna say, I was gonna bring that out, but I don't need to in the motion because we already got it correct and just suggest we do the vehicles next week since we have a meeting next week. So we're all on the same page. So that was all I had to say.
All right, we got a motion on the floor. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. 2.04. Looks like this one will be clear. It's a receipt review and possible approval of a request to conduct a surplus sale.
I move to approve, the request to conduct a surplus sale.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and motion passes. All right, moving right along, 2.05, receipt review and possible acceptance of the bid for the asphalt seal coating and striping at multiple sites district-wide. Project submitted by Superior Services Incorporated and conditional award of contract to that bidder for possible action. Mr. Selke.
Yep. Good evening, guys. So we'll do asphalt seal coating and striping maintenance at Adobe Middle School, Liberty Peak Elementary, Grammar number 2, Northside Elementary, Sage Elementary, Southside Elementary, and Ruby Valley Rural School. We had a lot of interest in this one, but we had 2 bids that came in. Superior Services at $380,170.83, and then CRC out of Reno, basically, at $585,000.
I would add, nice to see that coming in. We had a budget of 400,000 and
Yep.
see it 380 is nice to see. Any discussion from the board?
This is just an asphalt question. The road leading up to Sage Elementary, is that our responsibility or
Yes.
does someone else? So some of those potholes that need to be fixed, that would not be under this correct? That would
It
come
will
under
be,
something else? Okay,
that's our road, so we will be doing maintenance on that
Okay.
portion of Sage.
okay.
Excellent.
And I don't know if there are other roads leading up to other schools that have those same issues, but I'm just questioning if that was part of this. So good to know it is.
Yep.
All right. I move that the board accept the best bid for the asphalt seal coat and striping at multiple sites district-wide, project submitted by Superior Services, Inc., and conditionally award the contract to that bidder, subject to the timely submission to the district legal counsel of all documents required by the instructions to bidder, including 1, the signed contract, 2, proof of required insurance, 3, issued performance bond, and 4, issued payment bond.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Motion passes.
Thanks, guys.
All right, moving on to 2.07, receipt review. I'm sorry, 2.06. I got ahead of myself there. Still receipt review and possible approval or guidance on the 5-year capital improvement plan pursuant to NRS 354.5945.
Thank you. So, well, yeah, you can stand up there if you want there.
Just
But,
in case.
So, annual thing as well, capital improvement plan, it's 5-year projection, as is usually the case. We're pretty confident about the stuff we want to work on in year 1, and then years 2, 3, 4, and 5 are projections based on a lot of assuming how much money we're gonna have and what things do or, don't break and what projects we'd like to see in the future. So, I put a little bit of background info on all the kind of areas of feedback that were put into putting this together. Is something that can be approved today, or if you have, we brought it early enough that we have some time if we absolutely need to make some adjustments. The kind of last time we could approve this is July 15th, assuming that would be our July meeting. That would be the very last kind of meeting we could do that. So, but if you're happy with it today or if you have any questions you want to ask about it, we got Cassie who did a lot of the numbers part of it, and Matt's over there too. He could speak to any of the projects that are on there, and I'd be happy to chime in where needed also. So.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Board members?
I did have a question. This is also an asphalt question since we were kind of talking about that. On number 9 on the capital improvement project, it says central office parking asphalt and it comes in at $400,000. Is that like a total redo of the asphalt at central office? Because that's, looking very different from.
So if you look on the top of the page here, it says fund capital improvement pay as you go. So this is just about half of the expenses will be paid out of our pay as you go fund. And then if we scroll down, the next row is actually, it's on the second page, is the AB 519 capital improvement plan, where we would be asking for a 50% match on that project. So we're estimating about 800,000. So we'd like to pay 400,000 and as pay as you go. And then hopefully when we apply for the matching grant, the other half would come out of the AB 519. So how I did it was I basically split up the projects for this next couple years, half pay as you go, half AB 519.
So is it redoing the asphalt completely? Like digging it up and starting over, or not just patching? What's the cost?
Yeah,
of that
so
one
the
that
whole
way?
plan would, we've all seen the parking lot, so it would be a completely rip up everything, brand new valley gutters, brand new asphalt, address the sub issues that we're having with the underneath the asphalt and from there. So we're thinking 650,000, but that's today's prices. So we kind of inflated a little bit for eventually someday when we do that project, is that a couple of years out. So that's the price we kind of have right now. So.
Thanks.
Is the, sorry.
No,
Is that okay?
go ahead.
The school violence prevention project, is the number lower because that's like renewal of something, upkeep, like what is that?
Yeah, so that's about that, when you double that, that's 150,000 for this year and subsequent years. So at this point where we are in the project is we're sort of wrapping the last little bits up. We've done most of the equipment purchasing, like the majority of that money is yeah, we've already spent it. And so we know there's going to be little bits going along. But there's also uncertainty with how much, like we have big plans for more things we can do with the school violence prevention project, but it's always going to require another $500,000 from the COPS grant every year, as many times as we can continue to get it. So while there's only 75,000 split up in half over these two things, when you scroll down farther on the third page, there's a whole separate category for $500,000. And so the majority of what we would do if we're able to continue with that project would come from new funds.
Thank you.
Yep.
So I have a question. We've split this up between the pay-as-you-go and then the match. What if we apply for the match and don't get it, then what?
So I think this is not from pay-as-you-go. This is from the new formula from the county. So that's that $5 million that we'll be able to access from the county. Okay.
It just goes into the pay. So your hypothetical of if we don't get the match, then we have to reevaluate what projects we can and can't do.
Yep.
So again, remembering that this is a projection of what we believe we're going to be able to do in this next year. Obviously, if a roof caves in somewhere, priorities change and everything changes. So we're going based off of, and we have don't want to count your chickens before they hatch or whatever, but we have a pretty good feeling that we're going to be able to get those funds matched. It was created for this purpose, and we were the only county that at the time was made to levy that tax. So that money's been sitting there waiting for a county who levies this tax to do it, and we're the only one that's done it. So I feel pretty good about us getting that. And once we can't apply for any of that though until this is approved. So not like no pressure or anything, but like that's the sooner we make that decision, the sooner we know we can apply and find out if we're going to get it or not.
Yeah, so Brooke, for stuff I really want to go after with the match is going to be grammar number 2, Elko High School, and then I'm trying to figure out if we're going to do Jackpot or West Wendover Middle. So I'm working on with the engineers right now. We're going to probably get that out to bid November, December, so it's ready to go. And then as soon as spring hits, we'll be able to tackle those projects. But we'll know if we're going to get that match, sooner than later.
So to clarify, this plan is non-binding, but however allows us to get out and submit for these matching funds. So the sooner we do this, the better.
Correct. Yep.
Thank you.
This is a plan, and plans change, but this is what we'd like to do.
To get all the monies.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Go ahead, Brooke, if you want to make it, go for it.
All right, which one are we on here? Gotta find the right one.
6.
I move to approve the guidance on the 5-year capital improvement plan pursuant to NRS 354.5945.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Sorry, and chair votes aye. Motion passes. And moving on, 2.07.
Yep, so we had this item at our last board meeting a month ago. This is a proposed new policy, JDBA 04, and that is to, again, this is something we just had our folks from Pool Pact and LP here talking about the risk management application, or I can't remember exactly the title of it. This is kind of one of those elements of things that we can do to shore up our security and all that with, and this one is in specific reference to our network safety. And so, yeah, we read it last time, and we had about 3 or 4 comments that were made for suggestions. Most of that made it in there. Things that didn't, I can talk about if you want, but we got a couple updates to the last version, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Board members?
I had a question about number 7.
Yes.
Just because it's really vague, will be reviewed and revised when? Like
Uh,
every couple years. I just think if we don't have some kind of timeline, it'll get
Yeah.
lost in the shuffle.
to reflect changes. Yeah, I mean, I guess it could be inferred that when organizational structure, technology, or requirements change, then the policy will have to change with it.
But I just want to make sure it's one of those things not forgotten, because if it's not
Yeah.
on a calendar or something somewhere, it gets, I mean, there's lots of things that this needs to happen, so I just don't want it to get lost.
Well, and I was going to suggest we just eliminate 7 because we, look to review and revise our policies anytime that is necessary when we have a change. So, I mean, I see where you're coming from, Susan, though. If we want a specific time that we are going to, review this policy, then I think it's a good idea to put a timeline on there. If not, then like I said, I don't know that we really need item 7 in there at all because we review and revise policies all the time.
But we
Supposed
haven't.
to. We're supposed to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that hasn't been happening. And with technology, to me, it needs to be looked at a lot just because it changes so much. But I'm fine either way.
You could always just add a single word, whatever that time period you would want it to be, where under 7, it says this policy will be reviewed. You could just add yearly or
Annually, yeah.
annually
Reviewed and
or
revised annually.
every 5 years or whatever we wanted that to be. It'd be a simple change if we were to do that.
I think on this policy, I tend to agree with Susan that technology and stuff is changing so quickly. After going to the workshop in Virginia City and just hearing all the things that bad people are up to who know how to operate computers really well, it's something that we need to stay on top of because school districts are being targeted big time. So I agree. I think we probably need to insert a time period in there to make sure
Sure.
that we're staying on top of things.
Could I give maybe a suggestion and you can do what you want with it? Perhaps we could say something along the lines of this policy will be reviewed. Like, I think we need to say and or revised, because if there's nothing to revise, then why would we revise it, right? So reviewed and or revised, and then I would say at least annually, because if some major organizational structure or security requirement changes 2 months after we approve it, then we certainly don't want to wait 10 months to do that. So, so maybe we could say reviewed and or revised at least annually to reflect changes, et cetera. Might be does that kind of fit what you're thinking, Susan?
Yeah, that
All right.
works.
So there's a suggestion. You can do something else if you would like.
All right.
I'm ready to make a motion if we're good to go. I move to approve policy GDB04 with the addition of, in item 7, this policy will be reviewed and or revised at least annually.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. All right, moving on to 2.08, receipt, review, and discussion of proposed revision to policy BDA, regular board meetings.
Speaking of policies that haven't been updated, to Susan's point. So this policy currently reads that, that the January 1 meeting every year is when the calendar of board meetings for the year will be established. And as far back as I've looked, it's always happened end of June. And so we are getting ready to do that process again in a week. And so in order to follow policy, we're hoping to get this policy ready for next meeting right before we do the other thing that we've been doing for the last 8 years.
Yes.
So minor edit to the policy that just states that we will do it during a meeting in June, first meeting in January. And so.
And apologies, board, this is a first reading, so
Oh,
this
yes.
is a non-action
Yeah,
item.
Yep, first read.
Any discussion?
I have a question about the paragraph after that, setting up the meeting of just before number 2. So the board president will conduct the meeting and then the board clerk, and then it says if both are absent, the person with the longer period of service. I have a suggestion to just change that to, I don't know, something different of board president can
The board
choose
president will
someone
appoint,
or-
yeah, something
A
else there. Yeah.
designee or something.
Right.
Yep, right now we're.
I just, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I will pitch in on that really quick because I got a call from Matt saying, hey, you know, if you're going to be at this meeting, would you mind, you know, because I've been on the board the longest, he says, would you mind if Jeff is on charge? And I said, I think everybody should have an opportunity to run a meeting. And so I think that's a good idea to change the wording
Yeah, I
on
don't want
that.
to pigeonhole because maybe somebody doesn't want to, you know, or for whatever reason. So I just wanted to make sure that it could be anybody. So that's great.
I think everyone should have the opportunity. I've got to say, this is my first time and it's terrifying. So.
You're doing great.
But yeah, I think we're moving right along. So the second time, if I get that chance, we'll be even better. So, but yeah, I would agree with that change too, just so that we're following policy and it becomes the will of the. We had discussed a few situations where just because someone's longest tenure doesn't necessarily mean they even want to run it. So yeah, I would agree with that kind of a
I got a
change.
note made. We'll get that fixed for next time.
So I'm also going to throw out one other suggestion, just because we changed to the first and third Tuesday of the month, you know, back in 2023. And I feel like we have lots of conflicts with the first and third Tuesday. You know, the first Tuesday of January is always near a holiday. The first Tuesday in July, which we usually don't have a meeting, but is always, you know, near the 4th of July. And I feel like we have some conflicts. So I mean, since this is a reading, I'm going to suggest we go back to the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month instead of the first and third, and just maybe discuss that with everybody when we've got the full board back.
Remind me, was the second and fourth due to, there's another board meeting going on at the same time, or
It's when the city council meets. Mhm.
Yes.
I don't know
So-
that it matters that much, but
Here's what I'm just thinking out loud here. What we can probably do. I mean, we've been not following the board calendar policy for the last 8 years. But so whatever, right? Like, well, we're working on getting it done. The idea was next meeting to approve whatever this ends up being before working on the calendar. That way we are following that policy then. So perhaps I can if those are the only 2 edits or suggestions, I can make the first suggestion reflect in 2 different versions, and then I can create 2 versions of the policy, one that says the first and third, and one that says the second and fourth. And then the board can vote on whichever versions of that they want to. That way we're ready to pass that for either scenario.
I would add too, is that as it's written, we still have that option to change.
Yes.
If we do, because yeah, I would agree, there are a lot of conflicts. So even a hybrid, something I would be fine with too, as long as we stick to those days of the week. Tuesday seems to be a good day. So where it's first and third or second and fourth for me is fine either way.
I mean, we could always have it just read, we'll hold 2 meetings per month, except in July and December, and we can just, as long as the calendar is produced right and it's well posted and advertised, then
Right.
it's just easier for people to anticipate when it's a regular schedule. But we've gone off regular schedule. I think like next week's going to be off regular schedule. Spring break was off regular schedule, so
Right.
we've changed it anyway. So yeah, I'll come up with some options. And
Yeah, I'd like to look at it a little closer going forward this next year, just so we do avoid the conflicts. It does seem like,
Yep.
even today I'm happy that we're here and able to do the business of the board. But it is right in the middle of, we've just got released for summer and everybody's,
people are often out and about. Yep.
oh,
Gotcha.
thank you. Any further discussion, board? All right, moving on. This is our next non-action item. Item 2.09, receipt, review, and discussion of proposed revisions to policy JDBA, student discipline, rules of behavior, use and possession by pupils of a cellular telephone or any other similar electronic device. Again, this is a non-action item.
Yep, first reading of this policy. We've been talking about this one since I think last July or August. And a lot of little steps along the way. It's all detailed there in the background information, but we've had surveys, we've had committees, we've had it pass through the administrative council of our district. We've had rewrites and revisions through our committee. So really appreciate all the hard work that's gone in from committee members, we had nearly 3,000 people take that survey. I think the only one that I know of that had more feedback than that one was when we were talking about going 4-day. I think we got more survey results than 3,000, but other than that, we don't usually get that many. So lots of people jumped in and gave their opinion on this one, and I really appreciate all that feedback. The it feels weird even calling it a revision because it's basically just a complete rewrite of the policy. Worth noting is the policy was originally created in 2008. And I think I was probably still working on my first or second cell phone at that time as a young adult. And so cell phones weren't even really in the hands of lots of kids in 2008. And so
Roll a razor.
it may have been around the time of the razor. Yeah, I think you're right. It's had one minor update, but it wasn't so much about the cell phone side as it was the NRS side with discipline. So the new one that's in there is it's very reflective of all the work I just talked about. I kind of glossed over real quick. At this point we're still listening, and this doesn't have to be, I know normally we would bring it back for a second meeting. It doesn't have to be approved at the next meeting. Like, we do want it to be ready to go for the beginning of the school year, and not surprise everyone with it on, August, whatever that meeting would be, the 19th or something, the day after school starts. We'd love to have it probably ready before August, but I think it's a good product, and I would say the majority of the comments that I've seen from people, because we did advertise out to the public, hey, we're doing it at this meeting. And almost everything I've got back from everybody says, hey, this is a pretty good policy. Maybe here's one thing to think about or another, but in general, people think like it. So happy to take other suggestions. And I know we have a gentleman here who wants to talk to us. It's my brother-in-law, by the way.
Sure.
That's Zach Featherstone. Yep.
What I'd like to do here is let's hear from the board first, if you have any comments, and then we'll take public comment.
Yep.
Board?
A couple things. Maybe you can just clear up examples to give me examples. And one, I don't remember if it's been updated or not, the acceptable use policy. Has that been updated?
Yeah, I think we updated that. Maybe it was either last school year, at the beginning of the school year, or at the beginning of the one before that. It's been within the last couple of years, though.
Okay. So it will fit with.
Yeah, well, I actually had a conversation with Brooke earlier today about not the acceptable use policy, but this concept in general. There are a lot of things tied to this that will be updated as a result of whenever this is approved to be in accordance with that. So our discipline matrix, our acceptable use policy, et cetera. There are other things that kind of like will domino as a product of whatever the new policy is.
Okay. And then on number 3, I'm just looking for an example with combined schools.
Sure.
That school admin shall adopt sensible and appropriate guidelines. So how is that different from the other 3 above?
So what that's saying is, in a combined school where you have these levels mixed together, basically the school needs to, that combined school, so we'll just say a YHE, for example. They have kids K-12 that are all in the same, they're all in the same building. They will have to choose which of those levels they're going to implement for their campus, because they don't have a building that is just elementary, a building that is, they're going to have.
But their elementary is separated. It's down at the end of the hallway versus where all the high school kids are, and then the high school go out to another building as well. Because to me, if you say, okay, we're going to follow elementary school, that's going to be difficult for people to deal with. And I'm not saying they are. I'm not saying they will go with that way. But it just seems really confusing for those combined schools. So I was just curious.
I think the idea is to make it not confusing for the combined school, because confusing would be, well, those kids right there can have a cell phone during passing period, but those kids coming around the corner right there and passing by them, oh no, you can't have a cell phone because you're in 7th grade, but they can because they're in 9th grade, and trying to monitor all that, that would be confusing. Whereas if
Where
you just
does
say
that
for this
happen
whole
at?
school, not that that's what would happen. If we didn't have that combined school thing and we just said elementary's got to do this, middle's got to do that, high school's got to do that, they're all mingled together. And so in order to just make sure it's the same in a physical building, then they're gonna have to pick which option they're gonna go with at the combined school. That's the idea of that part
I
of
guess
that
I
number
was just
3.
thinking, why do the elementaries commingle with anybody at Owyhee? They don't have the same, but maybe they do. I was just thinking like Jackpot, they're in separate buildings, Wendover, they're in separate buildings, Carlin, they're in separate buildings. So
So
we're talking about
we'll-
Owyhee?
Well, no, not just Owyhee, because Wells is in
Wells
this,
is-
Wells in the same building, but they have junior high and high school in the same building together. So we have at all combined schools, to some form or fashion, you have some mingling going on between these 3 levels. Yes, typically.
The rules on cell.
And I feel like this leaves it up to the admin, like say in Wells, where the elementary school is separate, they can say, elementary, you're not gonna have cell phones on campus. High school and middle school, let's talk about what would be best for our campus, looking at this policy. Owyhee, where they're all in the same building, again, that would still, the admin could still say, we don't want any cell phones with the elementary kids, and they are going to be on this side of the building, so they don't commingle. But the the junior high and high school, they might pass each other. They're going to be potentially sharing some same classes. You might have an 8th grader that's in Algebra 1 with a freshman. And so I think that having the combined schools listed that way gives the admin the opportunity to make those decisions that work best for their campus, because they know their campus and their students. But I see where you're coming from, Susan, where you feel like there could be some confusion, but I think those combined schools, they're used to handling things in a very different way. And I think having that in the policy so that they know, this is the expectation to other schools, they can apply that as they need to in their schools.
Okay.
I would also add to that, that the last part of number 4 there, where it says consistent with this policy, is a pretty strong guideline for them to follow. What those are for each specific grade level or school level.
That's fine. And then on number 4, what would be an example of a student, a teacher or an admin authorizing student personal electronic device in the event of an emergency? What would be an example of that they would need their phone?
Yeah, so this was actually something that was pretty prevalent that you could see all across, because like we know this is happening nationwide. People are adopting more firm policies, but something that's pretty important to people is that in case of an emergency, like let's just say there's a real lockdown or something like that going on. It's not my opinion that it's great for people to be on their phones, but there is a measure of panic that sets in for parents and the public and kids too, if they can't communicate that they're okay, that sort of thing. And so that could be an example, just one example of someone giving a student permission in an event of an emergency. I could see if you're, I don't know, you're out on the field in Wells doing something and the teacher doesn't have a phone, a kid snaps their leg or something, and do you have a phone? Call 911, call the office. I don't know, there could be a lot of different scenarios. It's just leaving room for not being accused of a policy violation during an emergency when you're trying to be helpful.
I just want to say, I do not agree with they should be able to use it during like lockdown or something. The whole point is they need to be paying attention to what's going on, and there's evidence that shows they should not be on their phone during that time. But so, I mean, the being out on the field or something, I could see that one versus I think that's scary.
And I think there's a difference between a student just willfully doing it on their own and going by what the policy says, which is administrators and teachers may authorize them to do that. So
I
that would
understand
be an
that. Like I
adult
said, I
giving,
just
making
don't
a decision.
understand if they're in a room and you need to be quiet or whatever, and you've got kids on your phones,
Yeah.
but that's.
That would be
that's my
unauthorized in that
personal
situation.
belief. And
So
then
can
the
I
other.
pitch in on that one, Susan, before we go to next,
Yeah.
so that we can, so as a parent, that's actually really important to me. If there was, you know, an actual, you know, perpetrator at a school and my children are there, they don't have to necessarily call, but being able to send a text saying, this is what's happening, we're okay, our teacher has things under control. To me, I thought that was an essential element of the policy. And I would not be happy if it weren't in there, because I think students do need to have an opportunity to, you know, be able to reach out in case of an emergency, and adults being able to say, go for it, let everybody know it's okay, because otherwise, you know, if you have a huge situation, you're gonna have parents calling the school and everything else, and if some kids can reach out and say, hey, I'm okay, can you let my friends know that, you know, so-and-so doesn't have their phone, it's in their locker. I think that's really important, and, you know, having sat through a lot of Jeff K trainings, I think being able to reach out in those cases can bring a lot of calm to a community when there is an emergency.
And then the last concern I have is just about phones being taken away, and then the responsibility on the teachers of just how that's going to look. I mean,
Yep.
there's been some concern from teachers, and so that would be my only other. I don't know what the answer is to solving that one, but you know, if they have to take away a phone, are they responsible for that phone, or do they just put it in a Ziploc bag and it goes to the office? I'm sure that's probably up to the school.
I have some to add to that too, if you're
No,
all right with that.
yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
We kind of talked about this a little bit before, was that we got the letter from a teacher asking about what kind of support they're going to be able to get on this. In the end, it talks about that staff has an affirmative obligation to enforce this policy, but I'd like to see it go a bit further than that. And again, and taken from the situation that was just brought up there, and have those things laid out a little more as far as consequences, and also with this affirmative obligation, kind of an explanation why is that we all need to be on the same page. We need to build a culture that where the admins supporting each other, teachers are supporting each other. So there's not different rules when you go into classroom 1 or classroom 2. It'd be nice to have everybody on the same page with a unified front. And so I feel like affirmative obligation is a good start, but maybe we should have a little more towards that on there.
So something that fleshes out why it's important that they all follow, like
Yes.
to be consistent? Okay. Just flesh that out a little, okay? Regarding, so a lot, I think we're talking about the same email, Susan, but like in situations of personal liability for removing a cell phone, that sort of thing, a lot of the things that were in that email that are concerns from a teacher, or it could be from a parent or a student even, just keeping in mind that like those are great topics to bring up, and for us as district personnel and site administrators to consider for implementation, but just remember, we're not trying to blur the lines between policy and actual implementation and the practice of it. So the practice of like, and you alluded to that, like how they do it at each school could look a little different, but what's important is that they consistently have a procedure for how to do that so that a teacher doesn't get stuck with the liability of that, for how to
I just don't want
consistently
a
support.
policy made that creates double the work for other people.
Sure.
If there's something else we can do to help with that.
Yep.
And I think my other concern was I can't find it. It was how the students kept their phone, like, is it in their pocket, or the word pocket wasn't used.
The
so
wording, yeah, the wording is intentionally vague because again, we don't want to dictate how that's got to go. What the wording says is that they will
That's like like locker, backpack,
stored
secure.
or something like that, yeah.
But my concern with that, once again, is creating a policy that, like, I don't know how all the schools do it. I know Elko High School, a lot of them have the pockets and they put it in their little pocket. So at least you can see them putting that versus now I'm looking at, oh, you got in your pocket. So, you know, that distraction of now you're searching for, oh, they could have it here, they could put it up here. To me, when it's in one spot, you know, okay, everyone put their phone up there, it's up there, versus if it's in their pocket.
Sure.
I don't know what's the point in passing anything then. What's the point? Because then it just becomes, to me, a nightmare for a teacher constantly. And like I said, once again, I know it's up to the school. They can do it how they want. I just don't want to create something that becomes, oh my gosh, why did you guys do this to us? And we
Yeah.
have enough to do.
And again, just keeping that in mind, I found the wording, it's that they will keep their personal electronic device in a secure place, and it lists some options, but then as determined by a teacher and or administrator. So it will be up to the school personnel to determine what constitutes a secure place in the classroom. So they could say, secure place does not mean in your pocket. It means in the backpack or in that cubby or in this bin. Like, there will be a procedure laid out for the classroom / school. for
I
how it's
just
supposed to
worry
look.
how well this is going to be implemented. So those were just my concerns.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sorry. Brooke?
I just have a couple points to make. So under 4, it says parent guardians are advised that the best way to get in touch with their child during the school day is by calling the school's main office. Students may request to use designated school phones to contact parent guardians during the school day. And I just want to bring up a message that I've had several parents contact me about. One of our schools has an automated message when you call, and word for word, it says, "Please do not ask us to interrupt your student's education to deliver a message. If it is an emergency, you may come to the school with picture ID to give the message." And so I feel like that
That'll
message
change.
doesn't really fit with this new policy, so.
Yeah, in
If we're
fact,
going to encourage that parents that the best way to get in touch with their student is calling the school, then that practice will have to change.
yeah, certainly. And that's, you've mentioned that one to me before, and that's the only school I've heard of that does that.
Okay.
And it was a topic of conversation in our committee where I brought that up and they were all like, oh, no, you can't do that. Like, if someone calls and needs to get a hold of their kid, they have to, especially if we're now doubling down on it this way. So
Right.
rest assured. And that's actually been brought up with the administrators as well. So they all know that that's going to have to be the practice at their campuses, is to give
And
messages.
I mean, obviously, the practice should be give your kids messages, make sure they know the plan before they go to
sure.
school.
Yeah.
But, you know, things happen.
Stuff happens, yeah.
And yeah,
Yep.
if they were supposed to ride the bus and you're in town and end up having to pick them up, you gotta give them a message, don't get on the bus.
Yep.
So, and then the second thing, and I already talked to CJ about this, just asked him a few questions before the meeting, but is in, under discipline, it says district employees have an affirmative obligation to enforce this policy. Students in violation of this policy will be subject to progressive discipline. And then it says see discipline policies JDA through JDFG and or the student handbook for the campus where the infraction occurred. And so I counted the number of policies between JDA and JDFG, and it's 36 policies. And so I was a little confused on that and talked to CJ, and he mentioned to me that the progressive discipline, there will be one that is just made specifically for personal electronic devices that will be followed if they're using their phone when they're not supposed to. But if they were using their phone when they're not supposed to, and also violating one of those other policies because they're using their phone in a way that violates another policy, then they'll also be receiving discipline based off of that policy. So that's kind of why that's in there.
Well,
So my
just wanna-
suggestion is just to kind of clarify that a
Yeah.
little bit so it's not so confusing.
I do want to amend one thing, though. We don't double consequence if a kid,
I guess whatever the more severe
yes,
infraction
it would
is,
be the more
right.
severe infraction. So if a kid took a picture of somebody in the bathroom, we're not going to be like, oh, well, you violated the cell phone policy. You're going to be busted for sexual harassment, basically,
Yeah.
we will go to the one that is the most severe thing, and we're going to not worry about the fact that it was a cell phone and go after the bigger thing.
So anyway, that's my only suggestion is under discipline, that it is a little bit more spelled out what that progressive discipline
Yep.
matrix is. And then also just say something like, I don't know how you'd word it, but just to kind of make it more clear that their principals aren't going to be looking through 36 different policies to try and figure out how to discipline a student.
That cell phone enhancement.
So I just had one other thought. I had the opportunity to talk to a lot of students while I was subbing the last few weeks of school about
Sure they were
the
ecstatic.
possibility of this cell phone policy. And a lot of students were really in support of having a policy where kids couldn't be on their phones, which
Great.
kind of surprised me. Because even some of the kids are like, okay, I love to be on my phone, but I realize it is a big distraction for me. However, one point that came up multiple times was kids are just as distracted on their Chromebooks as they are on their cell phone. And so they're like, so if you're gonna make a policy about cell phones, you probably better make one about Chromebooks too, because there's kids that don't have their their cell phone with them, but they do, they look like they're doing their work, but they aren't doing their work. They're just on their district issued Chromebook. And so, that's something else we need to look at because, yeah, we want our kids to have a great education, but we put this in front of all of them and they can get onto almost as many things there as they can
Yeah.
on their cell phone. And that's, being in classes and subbing, I definitely saw that as an issue too. So, I don't know how we balance that with being able to utilize, this great technology and being able to have kids, take their Chromebook home if they need it, do assignments when they're gone and, sick or traveling or whatever. But that was an issue that kids brought up to me several times. So I'm just throwing that out there that was something that was a concern from students.
Yeah.
It's
that-
also a concern from a mother
Yeah.
who has a son who had missing assignments because instead of getting schoolwork done, he was playing games on his Chromebook. And this, with one of my children, has been a very big issue.
Yeah, it, in the past, that was for one of mine as well. I will say that and this, like, we have a lot of tools and whether people use them or not is another thing. But like, so when it's at school and in a classroom, maybe more difficult for a substitute teacher, but a teacher has Go Guardian, they can lock them down onto one screen and they can't go anywhere else or 3 or 4. Like there are ways to mitigate that. It is more work to do that. But it is a way to keep the focus there. But I love that came from a student. And something else, while not relevant to this policy, because this is a policy about students, the prevailing thing that I heard from students throughout this process was, well, if we can't be on our phones distracted, then our teachers shouldn't be distracted on their phones either when we're doing work and they're sitting there doing whatever. And I'm not saying that's happening widespread. We have many great teachers. We highlighted a couple of them tonight. But we're holding kids to a certain standard and we need to hold ourselves to a standard to not be distracted in the learning environment as well. So, yeah, I think I'm just pointing, like, I love that the kids are calling that stuff out and they'll take the good with bad. And that was the kind of the sentiment from the students we had in the committee voices as well was, okay, that's fine, but there's these other problems you need to think about too. So it's good to have their input.
I just have a couple quick things and then we'll go to public comment. I love the policy as written to the point where I think I'm going to institute it in my private business as well. The high school section especially applies a lot to my kitchen. So, but then listening to some of the suggestions y'all have been excellent. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the next reading of this. And with that, let's go ahead and hear public comment. I've got Mr. Zach Featherstone. Go ahead, come on up. I'll save the spiel from before. You got 3 minutes and.
Thank you for giving me the time, so I have to take action. If you can't understand me, let me know. I'm happy to repeat myself, okay?
Thank you.
So I'm a pediatrician of the town. I've been here for about 3 years, and I love the city. I plan to die here. I love it here. I just want to make a comment about some of my support or concern with the policy. But honestly, after listening to all of you shared the same question I had. So really, I don't need to be here anymore. But I did want to say that I applaud that we're trying to put a new policy in play regarding personal device. Because as a pediatrician, I do see a lot of ADHD, depression, anxiety, and even suicidal kids. And I will say that's about 30% of my practice is working with those kids. And some of the first question I ask the mom and dad is, how much screen time do they have? And I know that I will, one of the main factors of the mental health study. I know that the plan of the policy is to help decrease the distraction in school. I also want to support from a medical standpoint that I do think it will help the culture of the school. It will help with the health from a mental health standpoint too. So I do want to say that I support the policy. If it was up to me, I would ban the phones from our school, but I know that's not possible. But I did have some questions about how we are going to enforce it and what kind of punishment we're going to have in play. Like listen, I actually did want to mention about computer, but like Cesar mentioned, we can try to mitigate that risk. But I just want to say that I support this, and I hope that out of this meeting, I'm actually hoping that we will have more, I hate to say it, but a more stricter policy regarding fund from a pediatrician standpoint. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Featherstone. Is there any further public comment? Is there any further comment from the board?
I just have one comment to add. Whatever policy we end up with, we almost need like a campaign to, really get it out there of, and I know most people know, and maybe it won't matter anyway, like parents of, why are you texting your kid during the day of, what do you want for dinner? Or, not like, hey, I need a ride, like the importance of why we feel it's important to not interrupt and do those kind of things during the day, or they're just calling to talk, or, and kids too, like, why are you texting your mom? What's for dinner, right? Just to help them understand the importance and all of this data that you've used to come up with this policy. Sometimes just seeing it at a school, a poster or something, maybe social media, I shouldn't even say poster, social media, sorry, I'm old. Just those types of things to just kind of have a campaign of why we thought this was important and why it is important. So just something to think about with whatever we have.
Thank you. Great. And I'd actually, that reminded me of something I'd had a thought of was if and when we do adopt this policy, this is one of those major ones that would be a good idea to send out on a broadcast, much like we did soliciting for comments. To actually get it out there and say, attention parents, this is going to be, next year, this is what's going to happen, and really reinforce that, like you said, to make sure everybody's on the same page. And I think that would give staff, like what I was talking about too, a little bit of reinforcement that here's what we're doing. Let's all be together in this.
Yep. Yeah, it's certainly going to be a big topic of conversation with our admin council. They're already preparing, like they know there's going to be minor edits to it, like we're talking about tonight, but they're already starting to think of ways where, okay, how's this going to work its way in our handbook? The information that's going to go out at open houses, teacher first aid packets, information campaign, that sort of thing. So, yeah, we're certainly going to put a lot of. It's why I didn't want to because we talked about it last summer, like in July or August. And at first I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, we're not gonna be able to do this right in the middle of the school year. So like, let's take the time to really work on it, get it right, and give ourselves some time to implement it properly. So that's the hope, is that, we get it passed here during summer, and we'll have some time for everyone to put their brains and efforts behind it to make sure it's pushed out well, and not just hastily done a week before school starts.
Maybe like the high schools can do a day without cell phones. You know what I mean? Like they have Cancer Day and all those, like maybe you could try a whole day without a cell phone. Hope
Could bring in
Squad could,
some 8-track
yeah,
tapes and.
Hope Squad could put together
could have fun
something
with
of,
it.
let's do a whole day without a cell phone and see the mental anguish they'll have from going.
I think it's
lunch.
important. I think this is really important though, and this is
Yeah.
a policy that I hope that it's implemented across the district as the policy reads, and that it's enforced. I I'm gonna do all I can to make sure parents are on board and help and support this. My 16-year-old has a bark phone, and I got a notification that he was doing something during school hours. I can't remember. It like notified me that he was watching YouTube on his phone during school hours. So I texted him and I said, you better get your butt off your phone. And I threatened him and just, you better get your focused on school. You are during school hours, you need to be, off your phone. And then I got a notification that he was being bullied through text messages, and it was me bullying him. So more parents need to bully their kids through text and tell them, get off your phone.
That's rich.
One thing I forgot to mention is another edit I intend on making is under section 3, number 1, elementary school. It very plainly just says prohibited from use on campus. But pretty unanimously, the principal said, can we add the language from use on campus during school hours? And that leaves the possibility for, Brooke, you've told me before, you send your kid a message, and then when school's over, bells ring, they're on their way to the bus or whatever, he turns on his watch to see that, he's got to meet you somewhere. So we're prohibited from use on campus means always and forever. And so if we say during school hours, then that's a little more.
You could borrow the last sentence from number 2.
Exactly. Yep. So I'm gonna be doing that as well. I just forgot to front load that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else? All right, moving right along to item 3.01, the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Just about the minutes, and I'm sorry I didn't bring this up earlier. On page 3, the last bullet, it says board member name, motion
Oh.
to grant permission to go out to bid. And it should be Teresa.
Yeah, there's 2 of them there. It says the motion and the
Josh
second,
was the
neither one,
second.
yeah.
So it should say Teresa and then Josh.
Oh, actually, on the next page,
Does it say
it's duplicated. It says what you're saying on the next page. It says Dr. Josh Byers' motion to approve the consent agenda. Oh, no, never mind. I'm sorry. That's
Yeah.
for a different item. My apologies.
It
Yeah,
was-
we do need to fix that.
Yeah, it was Teresa and then Josh seconded the
Okay.
motion.
We will,
So I do have a motion on the floor. Would you like to amend your motion with that correction?
Yes. Motion as corrected.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes.
masterfully done, Teresa.
All right, Mr. Anderson, 4.01, your
Yeah.
report, please.
Great, thank you. Just a few things to share with you. Since our last board meeting, we've had multiple meetings with we're still moving forward with our profile or portrait of a learner. We haven't named it anything yet, but we've had multiple meetings and we actually have another one scheduled for next Thursday. So that work is still going forward. And we're where we are at. So we've gone from our big committee of about 40 or so representatives from all over the county and communities down to a group of about 10 or so that are now taking those competencies that were identified and are being refined to just like 4, maybe 5 total competencies, and then having like a short descriptive statement about each competency. So that's kind of where we are in the process. Now that I've summed it up that simply, like it sounds like, what have you guys been doing for 3 meetings? But I promise it's arduous effort. So we're still going, and it's really it's great to continue to see people who are willing to volunteer their time and effort, like business owners like you, Jeff, who are real busy guys, but and ladies who are just willing to give of their time on a Wednesday afternoon or whatever to join via Zoom and help us get something that we think is going to be good for our whole community. So we're doing well there, and we're gonna keep working forward. Kind of a couple of feel-good stories. Actually, let me skip those for the moment. We're working, we talked about a couple of our teachers of the year. We have one more I mentioned that she'll be at our meeting in a week, so it'll be good to see her. Also, another kind of great event I was able to go to, and real appreciative of the way our community and even some people from outside of our you know, who don't live in our community, but their businesses operate in our community. There was a big, last Thursday when a lot of you were at graduations, I was at this event. It was like a black tie fundraiser event to continue to raise more funds to cover the overage from the 64.5 million for the Owyhee School. So it's a great event that coincided with the mining expo, and so lots of again, great industry partners bought up tables and bought auction items and did all sorts of stuff to try to raise more money. And the idea is that those funds are going to go, they're going to get, because the tribe has been gathering funds from other tribes, like they've been collecting a lot of money, and they're going to kind of give that over to us. So just like in AB 519, where we have the 5.5 million from our capital improvement plan that we plan on applying for a match, AB 519 also created, if you'll remember, a separate fund of 25 million specifically for schools on tribal lands in Nevada. And so the idea is that when they finish gathering their additional funds, they'll give those over to us, and we will apply to that separate account to, you know, we said we're going to do our best and do everything we can to make sure we can cover that school and without drawing from the 20 cents that we need for other projects. So we're well on our way there, and the tribe is kind of indicated they're still going. They got other ideas. We're going to keep working together to make that school happen for those kids. So that's going well. And we're just really grateful for all the philanthropy and great business and community partners.
I would add, we heard a lot about it up in Hawaii right after, you know, because everybody came up from that.
Oh, yeah.
Will Arnett was there, and we talked a lot about that, but they were just super, super excited with it. It was a lot of money. It was what, $500,000-$600,000 raised.
Yep. Just from a dinner.
Incredible amount. Sorry.
Yep. No, you're
Just
good.
wanted to add, they were very, very happy that
was great.
night up in Hawaii.
Yep. Also, you know, continuing to talk about just good things that are happening around. So we're working closely with Nevada Gold Mines and the Carlin complex up there to get a basically a new playground in for Carlin. And right now, there's a lot of wheels in motion, but we're hopeful that we'll have basically a new playground in there by the start of next school year. And so, and a lot of that is going to be due to people's donations of time and effort and in-kind things, and we're throwing our little bit in there too. But really good to see the community and again, Nevada Gold Mines helping make that happen. Speaking of Carlin, we'll stay with Carlin. Yesterday, our new principal, Mr. I guess I haven't told you guys yet, but not officially from the microphone, but Mr. Mauro Lovato, who is a assistant principal at Elko High for the last few years. He's been named the new principal of Carlin Combined School. And so he and their previous assistant principal, Tammy Smithberg, were at the ribbon cutting ceremony for the new Love's travel stop that's there in town. And just as they've done in other communities, Love's handed over a $5,000 donation to their local Carlin Combined School to help with things that they need. Happened in Wendover when they did it too. And so, and as they do everywhere. So thanks to Love's and supporting the community and the school. And then the last one's a really neat story. And it's like, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the concept is that the community of Wells has rallied around each other to do some upgrades to their track area. So about a week ago, a little more than a week ago, the combined staff and students and parents and some local and semi-local companies started to construct a long jump pit and a shot put area for the Wells track. So Empire Cat helped by donating a bunch of equipment to do it, covering transportation or transport costs of the equipment. And they even were training students how to operate that type of equipment. Ram Enterprises generously donated rubber from a retired, I love how they call it a retired conveyor belt. They retired it and shredded it all up. And so that's going to help with the track surface. And then the shot put area is already complete and ready to use. And the long jump pit is nearing completion. And so it's been I saw a Google Drive folder that was just loaded with tons and tons and tons of pictures of just kids, employees, community members, parents, just everybody there working together, clearing stuff, giving those. Wells has a great tracking cross-country program, and they've done a lot with what their setup is at the moment. And so I'd love to see them again rallying around each other, just like Carlin's doing with their playground. And it's how it's how it ought to be. Communities ought to be helping each other, and so it's and the experience to show kids how to operate equipment and get their hands dirty. And there's a little bit of a lesson there that if you want something done, then yeah, make it happen, and don't keep waiting and asking for it. Just make it happen. So.
I believe it's be the change you want to see.
Yeah, be the change you wish to see in the world. Yep. So, really great job from the community of Wells. And I was reminded of another time recently when I went to their gym to give Miss Hunsaker her award. All the concrete right outside the other side of the gym, that was all donated and done. So their community is helping take care of them in different ways. So it's great. And then the last little update I'll give you, this is good news. I mean, there's still work to go, but Mr. Kranka asked me to share with you that looking back 2 years ago in June of 2023, if you'll recall, we had 90 posted positions in June, and we were a little worried about how we were going to handle 90 vacancies in a couple of months. And then the next year in June of 2024, we had 71 positions that were posted, and we were still a little worried about how we were going to fill those vacancies. And today in June of 2025, we are down to 48 positions posted and almost no worry about how those are going to be taken care of. They have pretty solid plans in place, and a good chunk of those 48 are people who are well on their way or about to become certified teachers in the classrooms that are working in through ARL or long-term subbing or substitute teaching. Yeah, so in 2 years, we've basically cut that in half. And so whether that's, there are a lot of ways we're attacking that. Partnerships with UNLV and with GBC and looking internationally through pathways or J1, H1B, where we are not shutting off avenues to get good people in our classrooms to take care of our kids. So things are looking up in that regard as well. And I will conclude with that unless you have any questions for me.
All right, thank you, Mr. Anderson. We'll move on to 5.01, items from board members. I'll just start right here and move on down the line.
I'll just say it was fun to enjoy several graduations. It's awesome to be there and watch those kids and talk to them about their future plans. So that's all I've got to report at the moment.
Same thing. I was blown away by the graduations and how much effort was put into those for those kids, to celebrate those kids. Was in tears at Jackpot's graduation. Did not expect to go cry, but it was great. And that's a highlight of being able to be a board member, is to go and help celebrate these kids' achievements.
Totally agree with the graduations. It's fun to go to the different communities and see how different their ceremonies are, but they're still very special. So yeah, I enjoyed that as well. Congratulations to Wells too. It's amazing what we can do when we work together, what we can get done. And I would, if you don't mind, for next agenda, I would like the NASB awards to be on that so we can discuss that, and a NASB update from me next meeting or next week.
So you want, if I could just be clear, so you want in the 2.0 section, or do you want it in the 5? What's the format you want to do for the awards? Just like a conversation about it?
Yeah,
Probably the same thing we did last year, right?
I don't remember where that was.
I don't remember where we put it either.
Yeah,
But yeah, we did have a
I think we took action on it.
We did have a
Like-
formal.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
You want it for next week?
well, I've been kind of mentioning it since, what,
Yeah.
May or April, so it's like, kind of needs to
Yeah.
get something done there, so, yeah.
All right. we'll get
Might
the
be a good
conversation
time to
for
make
next week.
assignments or like we did.
Yeah, I mean, you can think about between now and next week of who you are thinking of or not. I mean, I'm not leaving it like Jeff where we have to do each one, so just if you have someone, so.
All right, and then I'll check with Matt on the NASB update that,
Yeah, I'm not supposed to. They recommended, I should say, that once a month you have it on the agenda. And there may not be anything really, or there might be, just we have a meeting this week, so I can discuss it next
Okay.
week.
because I know we used to have it as a standing item every time, and then I think when Matt became president, it just became part of like you would just do it during your board member
Right now,
items.
yeah.
So I can ask him if, in the end, it's
Yeah, whichever.
We do a lot of
works.
work with the agenda, but it's the board president's agenda, so I'll check with him if he wants to do that or
Okay,
not. And
thank you.
if he doesn't, then just go ahead and deliver it during item 5.
Got it. Thank you.
There you go.
All right, I will finish up with, I wanted to talk about graduations too. I was able to attend 3. West Wendover was special because it was Mr. Kylonen's last one. He's off into the sunset and he seemed pretty happy about it, but congrats to him. And I know we're in good hands there, but that was a fun one because I've been doing that with him for the last 3-4 years and be able to share that experience. And then to go up to Hawaii the next day. And they always put on such an amazing show. The community really turns out. They had as many people in that gym as we did maybe in Wendover. It was a lot. We even had a special guest too. A couple, well, yeah, I
Yeah.
was talking about the flying one. But
Yeah, just
and-
tell them what it was.
Oh,
then
there was a
we leave them
bat
guessing.
showed up
Yeah.
and it flew right in one of the doors and then it flew right out. So, but it was a nice little visit. It just added a little spice to the presentation. That was fun. But they do such a great job up there. And then lastly, to go to Battleborn, I had not been to that one before and that one brought tears to my eyes because I was one of those kids. I was one of those kids that needed help and to see what they've accomplished and how dedicated they were. Because you see, everybody's in formation and does everything for graduation, but I got the opportunity to get up there and hear them chatter in the back hall and giving hugs and crying and just being, man, that was special. That was one of the coolest things I ever seen. So I really like what that program's doing there. And then just thanks y'all for the opportunity. This is my first time ever running a public meeting and what a wonderful opportunity. And I really appreciate y'all putting the trust and faith in me to be able to do that. So that's all I had. And that's moving on to 6.01, input from the public, if any. Absolutely. 3-minute rule applies.
Just the proposal that was put out for the food service, it listed us as school district employees in it, the 14, I think there's 14 of us left, which we were originally told they just phase us out. Everyone quits, you hire someone from the outsourced company. Well, then we find out today we're done after this year. Our whole department is done. I just haven't seen that happen before. So that's it.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Any further public comment? All right, hearing none, we'll move to 7.01, adjournment of the meeting. Everyone, thank you for coming out and safe travels.